Welcome back everyone. If you've been following this analysis so far, then you should know a little backstory of what happened. Put simply, at this time, by this time I mean around 2003, a lot of people got bored of Pokemon and actually some forgot about it, which is kind of hard to believe, but it's actually true. Such happened to myself, and again, I didn't play the games until years later, and by years later I mean sometime in 2008. Notice the time difference? So this just begs the question, what do I think about Generation 3? Is it better than Generation 2? And what do I think about the remakes? Is it going to happen, or what do I want in them? And how is it similar slash different from past generations? All of this and more will be answered today as I analyze Pokemon Generation 3. Again, I was tired of waiting for Pokemon to release a new game. The anime had gone stale and I lost interest. However, I remember the hype that this game did have. The people who still remembered and waited went totally fanboy for these games. I didn't even pay attention to it when they came out, so I didn't even really know when they did come out. I was in my last year of elementary school and I had a few months left till I culminated or whatever when I saw some kids playing it. For the sake of Pokemon, I decided to check out one of the kids' strategy guide. The first thing I saw were all the new Pokemon. Now my first reaction was, what the hell? This isn't Pokemon. They look like mutated, abnormal, weird things to me. Take for example Gardevoir. It looks way too human to be Pokemon. But however, over the years I noticed that Generation 1 and 2 alike did have some weird looking Pokemons, and Generation 3 Pokemon did grow on to me over the years. Again, flash forward to when I did play the games for the first time. Generation 3 had 3 games instead of the 2 that were out at that time. Ruby, Sapphire, and later Emerald. So what do I think about this generation? Let us start with the plot for these games, the real base story plot. The story starts off a little different. Instead of having us live in the town for our whole lives or whatever, we're moving to Little Root Town. And where did we come from? Why, Johto. It's a nice little tie-in, but I just start asking questions here. And this is why. Apparently your dad is the gym leader for this new region, which is called Hoenn, which is just a giant island. Did he just become gym leader? Why couldn't he become a gym leader in Johto, and why do we have to move? This is never explained, but hey, at least we have both parents. What do I mean? Well, in other generations, in the past 2 generations, most of the important NPCs and even the player just had one parent, like Red or Silver, just a single parent. Here we have both parents. Anyways, the story is while moving, we find someone being attacked by a very weak Pokemon, may I add, and so it's us to the rescue. Actually, the person is Professor Boach, and near him is a bag with your starter Pokemon. He tells you to use them to help, so you can choose one, but if it were me in real life, I'd just take all of them. So Birch thanks you for saving him and introduces you to May or Brandon, depending on who you choose. So if it's Brandon, you'll be May, and vice versa, whatever. So it's your sort of rival, but I'll get more into that later. They were apparently Birch's child, and Birch, seeing how good you are using Pokemon, asks you to fill out the Pokedex and take on the league. It kind of makes a little more sense than in Generation 2, but it's still silly sending in kids to do like adult work and field work and whatever. Anyways, again, this is your base plot, and along the way you do fight another evil team, which we shall discuss in just a second. After beating all 8 gyms, including battling your father, we can also challenge the Elite Four as always. After that, the champion, and done. Post-game, there isn't a whole lot you can do, and a huge letdown is you can't visit Kanto or Johto, which really sucks. There is the Battle Tower again, but that's just a huge letdown from Kanto or Johto. Well, it's time to talk about the evil team of this generation. Actually, we have 2, Team Aqua and Team Magma. If you're playing Ruby, then Team Magma will be the villains of the game. And Team Magma is really, well, I'll get more into that later, but Team Aqua tries to help you stop Team Magma, and it's the other way around for Sapphire. We'll discuss Emerald plot at the end. I do like, however, how they decided to go with 2 teams for each game rather than the same thing. This does help a little when you wonder why the heck there are 2 games that are exactly the same, but not by a whole lot. So what's the goal of Team Aqua and Team Magma? To steal money? Make a broadcast via radio? Nope. Get a load of this. They plan to use a legendary Pokemon to rule the world. That's actually sounds cool. As I said before, with Team Rocket, I was always unclear what their goal was. They did all this work, and for what? To be popular? At least here they have a goal: rule the world. Classic bad guy stuff, And how will they do it? With legendary Pokemon. Duh, they're much stronger than ordinary Pokemon, and they have special powers as well. So that definitely would be a nice aspect to help them rule the world. See, in Sapphire, Team Aqua wants to use the Pokemon. Now, I may be mispronouncing it, but I really can't pronounce these new generation Pokemon too well. So Team Aqua wants to use the Pokemon Kyogre to flood the world. But wait, how are you supposed to flood a flooded world? And in Ruby, Pokemon Magma or Team Magma wants to use the Pokemon Groudon and dry up all of the world's water. Why do they want that? I mean, what will these rulers drink? Pokerum? So I'll admit, it's cool that they do have a goal now and we can understand it and how they're going to accomplish it, but their plan is so stupid in the long run. Anyways, we do have to face some number of times in the game compared to on Generation 2, Team Rocket hardly came into the game until sometime in the end. Anyways, in the end, the leader of each team sees how stupid the plan is and calls it off. We also get help from a man named Steven Stone. He's the champion of this region, and I think he's actually really cool. He doesn't have a cape or anything, and he's a rock collector. Ooh, exciting. And he uses steel-type Pokemon. Well, that's different. Anyways, after that's over, the game pretty much goes downhill. In the climax of the games, it's actually quite boring compared to other generations. I'm sure some of you may disagree, but this is just how I feel about it. With the story out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay changes and some new features to this generation. This game was for the Game Boy Advance, so the graphics and sound naturally were very nice compared to Generation 2. One new feature was the Pokénov, and I must say it's a really boring feature in the first two games. Seriously, something cool did come though were the abilities. What are abilities? Well, each Pokemon had an ability. Let's say for example a Charizard has low HP. Well, thanks to its ability known as Blaze, its fire attacks and flying attacks are boosted. And there are tons of abilities for Pokemon that are tons and tons of ways, and in the generations they just keep evolving, which means more strategies started developing with these games. Natures is also something new, and in a nutshell, depending on what nature your Pokemon has, which is completely random from the time you obtain it, it decreases one stat and raises another stat by 10%. I won't get too much into that, but if you want to know more, there's a lot of info online if you're curious about the system again. Double battles are also something else, and it's exactly what it sounds like when you send two Pokemon to battle two Pokemon at the same time. And that's pretty awesome, and in fact, one of the gyms has you battle two gym leaders in a double battle, so that's pretty cool too. Contests are also new, with them ribbons can be won. Simply put, use your moves, Pokemon moves, to look good, and if you win you get a ribbon. It's not that important, but it's kind of a fun minigame if you ever get bored. IVs, which I'm not explaining, and the Pokerus has a much larger role as well. Hold on, let me rephrase that. IVs and the Pokerus were much more useful in this game and will be more useful in the other games. There are subtle little things about it, the changes that they made, but I'm not going to explain that. One thing that really takes me off is the day and night system. Yes, it's still here, but you couldn't see it. At the start of the game, you get to set your clock, but you don't even know when it's day or night time. So you really got to put a real light system and really compare it to in real life. Is it day or is it night? But why didn't they do this in-game? Was there some sort of glitch or something that wasn't allowing them to do it? Well, it's just a letdown. Another letdown is no animated sprites. I guess I failed to mention in Generation 2 videos that in Crystal, Pokemon had animated sprites. So instead of standing still in the battle, they'd move a little. This game did not have this, so it's kind of a letdown from Generation 2. Although to be fair, I did like they started getting a little more creative on how to evolve a certain Pokemon. Another letdown is the music. I don't hate the music, but I don't love it, and I don't care for it. It's not memorable to me, it's not catchy, and some tracks are okay, but for the most part it feels, well, boring. Out of all the games, I think this is the ones that have the most dull tracks of them all. They weren't choppy or anything, but they just weren't anything special, and it was definitely a downer. Now let's discuss the rival. This is another letdown, folks. We first assumed that our rival is Brandon or May, whichever one you choose. Which, by the way, you don't get to name anyone besides yourself in this game. So I guess they figured it was too silly to name someone that, was already born or whatever. Anyways, they only fight you like 3 times and they're really pushovers. Our real rival is a kid named Wally. At the start of the game, we help him catch his own Pokemon, but it turns out he's sick from, I don't know, asthma or something. But he wants to become a trainer, so once he becomes healthy, which is kind of weird, he runs off to do so. So when do we battle him? Right before the Elite Four, and I'm dead serious about that. We do fight him once before, but he has like one really low level Pokemon. We fight our counterpart at an okay pace, but then there's like 5 hours of no rival or so. When we do fight him, he's a nice challenge, but he's still relatively easy. This is supposed to be our rival, some kid who not only do we barely battle, but he's really easy to beat. With Blue, he may be an idiot, but we still fought him all throughout our journey, and he could prove to be a challenge sometimes. Silver was just awesome. We fought him, he could be tough, and he was just an awesome character. Wally, well, he's Wally. Wally doesn't even really change besides for his health. We barely battle him, we barely see him, and he's pretty easy. In my opinion, he's the worst rival out of all the generations ever. I really don't like him. You all know how much I love Silver, so when these games come out I thought, how will they top off Silver? Well, they didn't, but I guess a lame rival like Wally shows us how awesome a rival like Silver is. I also don't understand why so many people love this game. And don't get me wrong, this game is fun and enjoyable, but I was just expecting more. Generation 2 seems to be a lot better than this. Sure, the graphics suck and the plot with Team Rocket was bland, but it was fun, memorable, and if I had to choose which game would I start over, I'd pick Generation 2 over Generation 3 any day. So just to make this clear, I don't hate Generation 3, it just seemed to be a letdown. You can bigger all you want, but it doesn't change my mind. But will Pokemon Emerald change my mind? Well, maybe. Let's take a look.